Mr. Trey Dawson. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man?
Man, just getting ready to head down, or I guess up to old Mark Twain, man.
Yeah, it's it's shaping up to be a good one. The weather looks a lot better on Saturday than what it had forecasted to be. I mean, we got some spotty rain, but I don't know. From everything that I hear, water temps are in between 53 and 58. Um, the majority of the lake is pretty dirty. Pretty much all the lake is stained. So yeah, I think some people are going to shine. But me, man, I have not even been thinking about Mark Twain, honestly. I probably should, but I think I fish my better ones when I don't. But I kind of get obsessed for about 2 months out of the year more than anything, more than deer hunting or turkey season or fishing. And that's with mushrooms, man. I mean, I'm stopped at a stop sign in town looking out my car window for mushrooms. That's how bad it is. But yeah, I just love everything about it and was able to go last night and find some pretty good ones. I actually stopped looking. I felt like I could have probably found a lot more, but I'm not into selling them. So I just kind of got enough for me and Kira to eat. And we had a good little mess of them tonight and tried some different things with them. Tried some Funyuns, Doritos, Cool Ranch, stuffed some cream cheese in ones. And you got enough mushrooms when you start doing stuff like that with them. But it was pretty cool to find some pheasant back too, which I never had before. And Kira made a really good soup out of that. So it's been fun, man. I love mushroom hunting. I think there's a reason why God put it on earth only for about 2 months out of the year. Uh, it's kind of like the McRib. So
All right, I've never gone mushroom hunting, but teach their own. So good for you, buddy. How do you cook them?
Uh, well, if you ask, if it's the only thing two people will agree on is that the other one don't know what he's talking about. So I think it's each his own. For me, I just like out of trying them about every way, just salt and pepper, flour, and then just some oil. Some people like it in butter. We tried that tonight. It seems to get pretty rich when you do it in butter. Some people saute them. I cooked a couple days ago in an omelet. So I don't think there's a wrong way to eat them except raw, which because they have a lot of bugs in them at first. That was kind of funny. And, Kira's from California, never went mushroom hunting before. And so we cut one open last night. It was the first one. And heck, it was every bit of 5 inches, 6 inches. And cut that open and ants just started crawling out of it. And, she's a soldier, though. She soaked them in salt water and she didn't flinch at all. So.
Well, I'm up here on Tourney X, and I'm checking out. Looks like we got about 34 guys signed up right now. So numbers are probably still a little low. I'm assuming that numbers probably will stay kind of low for this event, just because it's kind of, you know, a little bit out there. But hopefully, we get some more guys from that area that join into it. But we need to talk about this event specifically. We're doing a donation box for the Eureka High School fishing team. So if you guys have any extra tackle, any stuff that you want to give away, make sure and bring that to the awards. Josh will collect that stuff. I think Josh collected it. I don't know who's doing that, but I think we're tag teamed with them to donate some tackle. So, guys, I'm sure you've got a couple, at least bags of soft plastics that you got lying around, or some hard baits or whatever. I'm sure those high schoolers would appreciate anything that you want to send their way. Um, so
Yeah, it's
just
not a matter of if you've got it. We all know everyone's got so much stuff that they only use a small quarter of it. I know I do. It's nothing to go in there and grab a pack of trailers or 2 packs of trailers or crankbait or something that you have that you're not going to use. You just have it because you want to have it, and to be able to give it to these kids to be able to use. And who knows? That bait's gonna change your hands, and it could change the life of someone else. It could be that one pack of baits that high school kid caught his PB on, and Yeah, you don't know the ripple effect that could have just by grabbing a pack of baits that you're probably never going to use. So
Also, Josh has updated the location of the awards. If you're already signed up, you probably got an email through Tourney X. If you have not, you can head over. Let me see if I can share this screen real quick. Give me 1 second. Tourney X. So it's the WGC Spillway boat ramp. So this is actually below the dam there at Mark Twain. So this is where our awards will be. So don't forget that we've updated that. All this you can find on Tourney X here. All the other information as far as like side pots, tournament times. Looks like launch is going to be at 6. Lines in is at 6:30. Lines out is at 2:30, and photo submission is at 4. Awards will be in about 4 p.m. But you can find all this information there on Tourney X. If you just go to the club tabs, select Moyak Fishing Series, you can go on the Elite Series and get all that information there. Select the Mark Twain. There is a team event going on this week as well. And speaking of events, we had our very first grassroots series on Sunday. So want to say congrats to who won that? Let me pull this up.
Richie.
Yeah, Richie Locker. I think he won it.
The old Forsyth native.
Yes, his home pond.
I think he was born down there in Rockaway, right there on the ramp somewhere, they said.
Yeah, so it looks like Richie Lockery ended up winning it with 96 3/4. Jason Shiflett had 93 1/2, and Lance Burris with 93 inches. So really cool to see those guys getting out on the water. Also want to give a congrats to those guys, but also want to give a the online challenges wrapped up for March. Let me pull this up. Looks like Andrew Fitz. Wow, he won it with 107 inches.
Yeah.
His big bass was 23 1/4. And if I'm not mistaken, that was like the biggest fish for the year. And I don't remember if that got tied. Do you remember, Trey?
I think a 23 1/4 did get tied, but I think he still holds it. What's crazy about that whole thing is he had 105 until I want to say the day before or the day of. So it means he had to go in with already a huge bag and upgrade 2 inches. I want to say it was the last day because I think I looked the day before and he was still sitting at 105, maybe 105 1/4.
That's wild.
And also, if you guys remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Andrew, I believe is kind of newer this year and now is in a prestigious that 105 club where you can contact Chad Fleer and send him a bait. I believe. Hopefully, I'm not speaking out of church here, but I know that was something I hit 105 last year and was able to contact Chad and I maybe reach out to Chad to kind of see what they do. Is that a thing still this year, Jonathan?
I think what it was is in the past is since the Council Bluff Crankbaits is the sponsor for the online series, that if you won that event, you could send him a bait to have custom painted and do that. So I don't know if that's still true. We need to probably get with Josh and give that clarity, but yeah, but huge congrats to Hips. He does have the big bass of the year so far at 23 1/4, which I don't think he caught it at Taneycomo. So everybody else that's not fishing Taneycomo may have a chance at that. So that is the Missouri Big Bass Bounty fish right now. So
and put respect on my goldfish, bro. You didn't say anything about that, bro. You need to read on down the line a little bit now.
Oh my gosh, here we go. This guy. Oh man. But seriously, guys, congrats to those guys on the grassroots series and the online series. Way to go. I think let me look at this. Do you know the next grassroots event?
I don't.
Number 2 is going to be on Palm de Terre. And this looks like April 19th, so a couple weeks away for that event. We got the All-American coming up at the end of the month. That should be a good event. We got the Taney 20 coming up too.
Dude, that's going to be a shootout.
It's going to be – it will show up and it's going to be flooded. You watch.
Don't say that. Hey, you remember last time when it flooded? Them dudes went out there and put up 100 inches in like 30 minutes.
It was good. Well, before I know we're supposed to talk to Jason Kieser on here, bring him on. But before, let's bring on Noah. Noah's sitting on the back of this truck and is in the background, and Noah's the sponsor for Mark Twain. I think he's bringing us some pizzas or some hot dogs or hamburger. I don't know what he's bringing, but he's going to be providing some food for us there at Mark Twain. What's up, Noah?
Hey, man, what's going on? Yeah, it'll be Casey's Pizza. You know,
I can't hear you.
You know, like, how can you not hear me? Can't hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Okay. I can hear you.
Face is deaf. Turn up your volume. Yeah, no, it's gonna be Casey's Pizza. If you don't like Casey's Pizza, there's something wrong with you. Yeah, it should be good. And I do believe.
Tell us about.
No, go ahead.
Tell us about Vitality. Tell us about what you got going on.
Yeah, so obviously I sponsored the tournament last year. Closest one to me for sure, and I mean this year's been going pretty good so far. It's only my second year in practice with this current office. Before then, I was a clinic director for about 3 years for a different company, and I decided to go out on my own. And you know, with the help of all you guys and support of everybody in my local community, it's been going pretty well so far. So yeah, I'm just thankful for everybody.
What kind of pizza are you bringing us?
You know, I figured I'd just bring kind of a smorgasbord of, you know, the goods like pepperoni, sausage, probably some cheese. I'm sure there's some weirdos out there who just want cheese pizza. So
can you see if they'll make you a breakfast pizza? It's Casey's, right?
They will absolutely make me a breakfast pizza. They'll make them anytime if you order them. You know, if you like special order.
Let's do 3 of them.
You know, if we can get away with getting 3 breakfast pizzas and people would eat them, I would 100% do that.
I don't know who would not eat a breakfast pizza.
You know, that's a good point. I agree. But again, I think there are some weirdos out there who don't like it.
Also, guys, be on the ear out for a trivia question tonight. You guys can either email, need you guys to directly message me on Facebook the answer, and you guys will win a pack of baits from Tackle Max, who's a sponsor of Noah's, and I believe it's shark tails of probably your color. So
yep. So I can get you pretty much whatever color you want. So whatever the trivia question is, I don't know what it's going to be. If you get it right, just tell Trey or shoot him a message, and then he'll tell me who it is. Or you can also shoot me a message. Go on their website, look up what color you want, and I can go pick it out for you, and we'll have it for the tournament. Or if you happen to win, you're not going to be at Mark Twain, I can bring it, you know, some other time. Just let me know.
Speaking of Mark Twain, maybe I got off. I couldn't hear you for a minute. I don't know if you visited. So, yeah, you're the title sponsor for this event, Noah. But you also was the 2025 Mark Twain champion too last year, which was pretty cool. I know you got kind of a story going into that to where you wasn't really. Yeah, I'll let you talk about it, but it was kind of one of them events that you weren't really obsessing over or anything like that. You're just kind of going out and having fun. Can you maybe walk through your day for that and how maybe your day is going to line up the same way this year and what you plan on changing, if not changing anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, last year, we're coming up actually this Friday, the day before the tournament, is my son's first birthday. So thankful to Mary, my wife, for letting me sneak away and go out and fish this again to give myself a shot at repeating. But going into the tournament last year, it was the last tournament regular season. I was completely out of the points. I really, you know, I wanted to go obviously because I was still sponsoring it, but I really didn't care what happened. I was just going to go out and try to fish my strengths, which for that time of year especially is just going out and throwing a crankbait. And I just found a pretty sweet stretch of bank that just kept reloading throughout the day. I did cover a lot of ground, and I picked up 1 or 2 fish in a couple other places also that were pretty far away from there. But for the most part, that one bank, I just kind of happened onto it and found them pretty good. And like you said, I had no stressed going into it, which is not typical for me. I'm usually pretty stressed about everything in life, just kind of a high stress individual. But yeah, that was kind of nice, and I think that just goes to show that sometimes you just need to go out and just have fun, and you can find something. Because a lot of times, I think we often overthink, our day throughout a tournament day, and we may not make the best decision just because we're stressing ourselves out during it too. And I think that definitely was true for me last year.
No, being so close to Mark Twain, why don't you fish it more?
I tell you what, man. I mean, in the future, I definitely will. Right now, at this point in my life, with Link and everything else, the business, everything else going on, the only fishing I get to do is on tournament day. I'm not even pre-fishing really for any of the tournaments. I think for the All-American, I'm going to go down one day early. But other than that, for the most part, I pretty much just have to go out and just kind of wing it, which is tough when you don't have any history really on any of these lakes. But like I said, sometimes it can be for the best. Because last year when I went out and won, I didn't pre-fish for that either. I just picked a spot and kind of went. But yeah, it especially this time of year, from what I hear, like I said, I've never been out there in the spring. But from what I hear, it puts out absolute bags. I mean, last May, I think it was, the FX series, which is a major tournament series here in Missouri, the winner took 27 pounds, I believe, which is a freak bag. But I think in the spring in general, it typically takes about 20.
Yeah, that sounds about right for kind of those Missouri lakes right now.
Right.
But hopefully it's getting better. I know before we got on here, you talked about a little bit of water temps you heard. You want to share on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the Mark Twain fishing page also gave an update today. Hopefully, we got a guest coming on, Jason Kieser, who runs the Mark Twain fishing intel. A lot of it's centered around crappie, but a lot of it's centered around bass too. He does I believe, a few different tournament events out of there. But anywhere from 53 to 54 in Main Lake, and they're seeing readings all the way up to 58 in the back of pockets. So could change over the next day or two. It's not supposed to get too terribly cold, so maybe in some areas you can see up to 60.
Warm up, really.
Yeah.
I think. But
JD, you got big bass last year at Mark Twain too, didn't you? Beat me out in the last hour or so on that.
It was like the last 30 minutes or something, wasn't it, Jonathan?
Yeah.
I sure did, and I got lucky. And I want to give a huge shout out again to Mr. Brian Hillman. Me and him ended up teaming up for that event. He stayed with Troy and Richie and I, and he was on a decent pattern. And he was like, just come fish in the area I'm fishing. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that to you, but I want to do that to you. So it was good. I think it was a chatterbait that I caught it on. But yeah, late in the day. And I want to jump back to that real quick. I've got it up here. Let me pull it up, which is kind of wild. So Noah ended up winning it with 81.5. Chad finished second with 80.25. But I did have that 21 incher. But the crazy thing, and I didn't realize this at the time because I figured it was like a bunch of guys were sandbagging. I figured it was going to be like a late, like someone, had a bag. Because to me, it reminded me of Truman. Everybody submits late, because of service and all that. And so like looking at my bag, like I had 11.25.
Yeah.
And coming from where I caught that fish to the ramp, I ran into a couple guys that they were like, I'm catching fish right here. And they were 14s and 15s. And I should have kept fishing. But like, I was so stoked about that 21 incher being the big bass of the year. Cause last year we did the Elite Series Big Bass of the Year. So like we had the Big Bass Bounty, but then we also had the Elite Series too, where if you caught the biggest bass in event. So like, I was stoked about that. I was geeked, and,
so it was a good payday for sure.
yeah, I just hung it up. I'm like, I'm going back to the ramp. I'm happy. Like, honestly, I was there Thursday, Friday, before that event, and I had no clue what I was doing, how I was going to catch fish, any of that. So, to go there and then catch that one just off a whim, like, I mean, it turned out pretty good. So, probably should have kept fishing, but again, hindsight's 2020. So, this year I'll catch 3 fish and think I still have a chance, and then I'll only end up with 3 fish. So, usually how it works.
Yeah, Mark Twain can definitely be, from everything that I read and just people that I've talked to over the last few years, is, there is a ton of dead water. There just is. I know a lot of times people say, well, there's not a lot of dead water anywhere. It's just about, it's just about finding fish. But from what I can gather from, a lot of locals and just people that tournament fish that Mark Twain a lot, that it can be a spot lake, sort of like Truman a little bit, where it's a lot of it is on spots that you can find stuff that looks extremely fishable, and super fishy, but it's just dead water. So it is a challenging lake, and I think it always poses a challenge. So
Well, I think that's probably true about any lake that has just a million trees like that. Is they can just really be anywhere, and I think it, for a lot of guys, and especially tournament trails that go there a lot, the guys that end up winning basically, every tournament, just because they have those spots nailed down pretty well. But
so coming from 3 guys that have fished Twain a little bit, you guys say, was last year your guys' first time fishing Twain altogether?
yeah,
Okay. But maybe some people out there have not fished Twain at all. What would you suggest if they're just looking at all their tackle right now and they're like, they don't know what? Because springtime can just kind of be a just kind of fish whatever you're comfortable or confident in fishing. But if you had to grab, let's say, 5 things, and just to try to make that ease of getting ready for the tournament, maybe this is one of your first tournaments with Moyak. Like, what are some baits that you're keying in on coming into this weekend?
yeah, Jonathan, you
Go
want
ahead,
to start? Or
Noah.
you want me to start? Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably just try to, like you said, fish your strength for sure. But I would try to take one type of bait for pretty much each category. Essentially, you want something that's going to be super shallow. So I don't know if that's going to be like a pretty heavy spinner bait, or maybe even a chatterbait. And a lot of guys here in the Moyak Trail fish a chatterbait a lot. You want something that's going to have that vibration, because it is probably pretty dirty. Like I said, I haven't seen it or anything. I'm just guessing based off of everything I hear in the spring. It sounds like it's dirty anyway, and then we get some rain. So I'm guessing it's going to be pretty muddy, pretty much across the entire lake. So you're going to want something probably with some vibration. And then I would take at least a couple baits that are more bottom type contact baits that you can just flip at different targets, because there are plenty of targets to flip and pitch at, let me tell you, with laydowns, rock outcroppings, and then a million trees, like I said. And then, I always have to have a crankbait. So I would say probably a crankbait too, just in case you do find a little stretch that looks pretty fishy with it. You could definitely get on them pretty quick. Like Trey said, I think there's definitely a lot of dead water, but when you find them, there's usually a pretty good group of them. So
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm all about like fishing your confident bait. Like, to me, I'm gonna head down Thursday and Friday, and I'm gonna try and catch one of jighead minnow. I don't know if that's gonna play or not, but I love scoping them. I love doing that. One thing to keep in mind is, like, if the water temps are in those 60s, low 60s, high 50s, like, that's definitely behind Lake of the Ozarks. So if you were at, Lake of the Ozarks, and to me, Lake of the Ozarks is ahead right now. Like, I think it's warmed up. I think those fish are moving shallow. Just kind of keep that in mind. Of course, you're not going to know until you get on the water and see what that water temp is, but I think that plays a big factor. I don't know. Maybe with the water being up and muddy, maybe that water warms up. Maybe they start thinking about transitioning. But yeah, I think you're definitely gonna have to, I think, a lot of like these highland reservoirs, you're gonna try and figure out a pattern and then try and replicate it. If you can replicate it, then at that point you've got something going. But fish your strengths. Like I tell that, I tell it to myself. I tell it to everybody. Like don't like this dice bait. Like they're really cool, and I'm sure people are catching fish on them. But like if you can still catch them on your shaky head, what's wrong with that? So
I was just gonna ask you, Jonathan, how many of those koi keys you got?
I don't have any of them. I've got two of them, and I've got the full ones, and I haven't been able to get them, and I want to try them. And I've bought some of the other koi keys that are the different shape that are not like the traditional, and I've caught fish on them, but it hasn't been like a miracle worker for me either. So, but again, like there's a learning curve there. So like any of that stuff, like just fish what like. If you are, a KVD dude and love cranking, like that's how my dad was growing up. And like, I love cranking too sometimes, but at the end of the day, like if it's not whatever you're confident in, whatever you're, feel comfortable in, that's what matters the most to me. Like last year I caught my big on a chatterbait. Is that going to play this year? I don't know. Like it's tough to say. I going to like Truman, I've done well there a couple times, but I've struggled there a lot. So if you like, to me, I think the comparison between this lake is Truman, and
100%.
Try some of those things that you do at Truman that have done well for you, and
especially this time of year with the water up. I mean, I think it's going to fish probably identical to Truman in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I agree. I think that this weekend's going to be about fishing your strengths. I feel like I think the key is in Mark Twain is finding the fish. But I think if I was to give any information or any tip, it would be that everything on Mark Twain, a majority of everything looks fishable. So if you're new to Mark Twain, if you're new to doing this, don't spend it. I mean, yeah, do you want to slow down? Do I feel like when the bite gets tough, is slowing down the best thing to do? Absolutely. But don't get caught up fishing everything that looks fishy. I would encourage people to cover as much water as possible. That's all I got. Cincos have always been a big deal on Mark Twain. I think they play all year round. And without further, Mr. Mark Twain himself joined the podcast. Everybody,
hey, fellas.
The one and only Jason Kieser.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing?
Can you hear us, Jason?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Can you guys hear him?
Yeah.
Well, I can't now. What is going on with that?
Jason, we're here talking about what we're thinking and how we're thinking it, but you've probably been on the lake a little bit more than anybody else, and glad you're able to join us. I know you and I talked last year about coming on a little bit, but happy that you came on this year and looking forward to the event this weekend, man. But
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Well, jump right into it, man. Tell us about Mark Twain. Tell us what you can and what you think, and what you think, man.
Well, Mark Twain can be a pretty good bass lake. I mean, there was it took 20 pounds to win last year on most of the tournaments. But this time of year can be obviously pretty tough. The water's 52 to 55 right now, and it can just be a tricky bite altogether until the water gets closer to 60. Maybe here first part of May or so. But I mean, you can catch fish, but it's going to be kind of, I think, tough for the next week or two. I mean, I've got some buddies out pre-fishing for the Joe Bass this weekend, and they said it's been kind of tough this week. But the waters came up 6 foot in the last 3 or 4 days, and it's muddy. So
right,
that's about what's going on bass wise here at the lake.
Do you think that's going to stabilize though, or do you think it's going to?
How long have you been? How long you been down there now, Jason? You've been there all your life, and like, what's your? I want to talk a little bit about your story. I know you kind of had to come on a little bit late. Had a birthday party. fishing isn't all that you do. And, I think a lot of people get you confused and think that you're just a full-time crappie guide on Mark Twain. And it's cool to hear you guys didn't know. I'll let him share it. Is an umpire, pretty well-known umpire in the baseball world. So yeah, maybe you want to talk about that, or maybe how you started guiding for crappie.
Yeah, sure. Well, I spent 11 years. I grew up a little town called Paris, Missouri, just west here, about a half hour. And 22 years old, went to umpiring school, made it in professional baseball, spent 11 years on the road, made it to AAA, worked a couple big league spring trainings, and then got a couple concussions in 08 and 09, had to retire early, and then got married to a woman around back up in this area. So I lived in Columbia in the off season, Columbia, Missouri there, and kind of got back up here in the country and bought my first bass. I always fished, ponds and stuff, because I was always gone in the summer, but, bass fished a lot of farm ponds, and then moved back up here full time in 2012, and bought a bass boat in 10, and just started tackling the big lake, as far as bass tournaments. And then I had a couple old timers show me the crappie world, and, during the spawn and everything. And then Live Scope came along, and I picked it up pretty good, and then just started crappie guiding and fishing bass tournaments and all that good stuff.
Awesome.
And I also own Mark Twain
No,
Lake Fishing Intel. If anybody's ever heard of that, it's kind of like the Bass and Bob. It's a sister of her brother, the Bass and Bob, down there at Lake of the Ozarks. So I bought it, I think 4 years ago now, from Bass and Bob. I bought the Mark Twain division, so I own the lake here as far as all the intel, and got a good website. We got all fishing reports, videos, how-to stuff, So I run that full time, so I've got to be on the water pretty much about every day. So.
And I know last year was pretty cool. I think you maybe interviewed Noah, and I think maybe you had mentioned something about, takes pride in, it takes a lot of interest in our kayak tournaments, and then possibly the winner of this tournament being able to talk to Jason and maybe make a report. So talk about how that works a little bit, Jason, and how you would want someone to do that.
Yeah, if you're interested in, give me any information, you can give me a call on my cell phone's 573-818-8104. And, or you can email me, Jason at Mark Twain Lake Fishing Intel. And, if you want to give me a report over the phone, I can write it all down. Then I can actually send a report in, on the website. And then if you got any pictures, there's a gallery deal on the fishing reports. And, I'll kind of, I might ask you a few questions, what part of the lake, what bait you use, what's your presentation, stuff like that. And then just kind of how you caught them, how you went about your day, and all that good stuff. And then it's out, it's all, put out to the members only on the website, and all that good stuff. So
awesome.
It seems to work out pretty good.
No, you're about to ask something. What were you about to ask him?
Oh, I was just going to say, Jason, do you think that you were talking about it came up 6 feet? Do you think it's going to stabilize throughout the rest of this week? Or I know we might have a little bit more rain coming, like maybe Thursday and Friday, but
I can't hear anything.
Can't hear me either, Jason.
Can you hear me, Jonathan?
Yeah, I can.
Here, let me leave and come back or something, man.
Stupid technology.
Jason, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I can hear you, JD, too.
He was talking about the lake, and it's come up. You said it's come up, 6 foot. As far as like throughout this week, do you see it like leveling out? Do you see? I know we're supposed to get some rain later this week. What kind of, like, based on your experience, like what do you see the lake levels being like once we get down there on Saturday?
I would say it might drop maybe a foot and a half, maybe. I think I haven't checked today how much they're pulling it, but I'm guessing it's going to be around. Yesterday was 612. I haven't checked today the lake level, but I'm
it's
guessing
actually already 611.
Oh, is it 611? So
Yeah.
It might be 610. 609, 610. I'd say by the weekend. So
what do you think that's doing to those bass?
Well, I think it's pushing them further out. I think, we had some warmer weather the last couple of weeks, and I think some of them were starting to push up a little bit, but I think they're going to just bounce back on them secondary points, in my opinion.
Okay.
And throw that, I don't know, crankbait 8, 9, 10 foot. And
Hey, that's what I like to hear.
parallel the bank and flip a jig up, or a little deeper football jig or something. But like I said, I got to get a couple reports from a couple buddies of mine going to fish at Joe Bass this Sunday, so he's going to hopefully give me a little bass report maybe the next day or two, and then kind of a vague one, and then he'll give me the scoop after that tournament. But hopefully have something for you guys maybe here in a couple days.
And is that the first kind of, I guess, big bass tournament of the year?
Can you hear Noah anymore?
Mark Twain?
Yeah, that's the first one. And then FX, Freshwater FX, is the 25th of April. So that one should be setting up pretty good because, if we get the weather, obviously. So
there was a guy down here in the St. Louis area where I live who fishes a lot of those tournaments. I think pretty much all the Mark Twain tournaments. And he did pretty well last year. I know I can't remember his name, but he thought it was still going to take 20 pounds for this Joe Bass this weekend.
Really? Yeah, and it might.
I don't know if he fished. I just ran into him at my local tackle shop, Danny Dennis over here.
Right.
But he said he would expect it to still be 20 pounds. Like I said, I don't know if he'd been up or not, but
You're right. And like I said, I bass fished a little bit yesterday and I didn't hit it too hard, but I don't know. I mean, I'd say it'll take, it could take 20, but I'm guessing it's going to take, 15 to 50, probably 15 to 17 to win, but that's just
Okay.
me. But
that's still a decent,
my buddy that's
respectable bag.
fishes a lot, that I'm actually fishing FX with. He's been out the last couple of days, but somebody's going to find, there's 20-pound stringer on this lake this time of year, but I think, there might be one or two heavy sacks, and I think it's going to be around the, if there is a couple 20-pound sacks, I think the rest of them are going to be around, 13, 15, something like that. But
Okay.
But it's hard to tell.
Joe,
nobody thought it was going to take 20 plus pounds to get a check or to win tournaments last year. About every tournament, and a lot of tournaments last year, you had to have 16 pounds to even get a check.
What's the biggest fish you ever seen caught out of Mark Twain, Jason?
I believe it's 730, 701 or something like that. Yeah.
Dang, JD, yours might have beat that one, bro.
Yeah, I know. There was several 7+ pounders caught last year, I believe, in all the tournaments. 5 or 6 maybe, but there was quite a few 6s, and there's a lot of 4 pounders, 5 pounders in this lake. They're just kind of tricky to pattern certain times.
I was going to say, where do you think they go after the spring? Because I know Mark Twain's one of those lakes that puts out bags in the spring, and then
you
all of a
go out
sudden
and pre-fish all the time, find them Tuesday, Wednesday, and you go back on Saturday or Sunday, and they're gone. They don't bite, whatever, But it's a tough bass lake, but then it's a fun bass lake too. You just got to hit them at the right time, and somebody out there's probably going to have 20 pounds, on this weekend. Hopefully somebody does.
Jason, one of our guys, Joe Hayes, he's asking, where's Joe Bass?
Guess we'll find out Sunday.
Where they launch from.
Yeah, Sunday. And then your guys' tournament Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, we're Saturday. Where's that Joe Bass tournament coming out of?
JD, I don't think he can hear you, bro.
I can't hear you.
I don't think so either. Jason, can you hear us?
He can hear me, but he can't hear you.
I don't think
he's asking. I'll ask it. You know where that Joe Bass tournament's taking off at?
Robert Allen.
What
both
brand?
Both FX. Both FX and Joe Bass are all taken out of Robert Allen this year. Joe Bass is always taken out of Robert Allen, and FX went out of Spalding the last 4 or 5 years, or how many years they've been here, and then they just went over to Robert Allen as well. So.
Okay. All right. So not talking about baits, not talking about locations or anything, Jason, but if you had to get in the boat and fish a tournament and you can only grab one bait, what are you grabbing?
This time of year?
Right now, yep.
Spinnerbait. spinnerbait or bladed jig.
All right.
I think that's, in my opinion, I think that's what they're going to be caught on. Because we got some good color, we got some dingy water, and that spinnerbait is just white and chartreuse. I'll just throw it out there. Anybody wants to know? So,
Boy, he's dropping it tonight.
yeah, white and chartreuse would be. That's what I would have on. So
That is unsolicited information there, guys.
that's right.
Jason, is there any part of the lake that isn't, that
That's what I'd be.
has a little bit better
guarantee
color?
I'd
Or
have
no?
both them on the deck, and that would be my go-to until they don't bite it, and then might try a jig or a crankbait or something. But Mark Twain's a pretty simple lake on the baits, So, but
I think
Okay.
for whatever reason,
that's what I
Trey
think.
and
but
Jason
we'll see.
they can hear each other, but nobody else can. So I don't know what's gonna happen here.
So we're going to have Noah and JD get out of the chat real quick and come back in. And I think that's what kind of resets this audio. Noah, for whatever reason, Jason, StreamYard has been difficult the last couple ones with getting multiple people on there.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's kind of exciting. I think it's exciting to go to a lake where, Mark Twain is not known. It's more known for everybody wants to say Mark Twain has dead water. There's so much dead water. And being somebody that has fished Mark Twain a lot and knows Mark Twain, do you believe that is that true, that Mark Twain is a ton of dead water? And if so, why?
I think there is a lot of dead water. Just for some reason, for whatever reason, these fish like to hold on, certain areas of the lake on certain things, and I just don't know why that is. But there's, we all got the creeks, that seem to perform year in and year out, and then other places, like South Fork, North Fork, all the rivers used to play years ago, and now nobody fishes up there anymore because I think that's all silted in. There's just not the bait fish up there, and it's just the bass don't go there anymore. But I know in the '90s and early 2000s, every big tournament, all them old Bud Light tournaments was won up South Fork, North Fork area, but the lake's fishing kind of smaller without them areas. The last few years.
Him okay? Noah?
Yo,
Can you hear me?
can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Someone posted in the comments like, we can hear everyone. He says we can't hear each other, so it's kind of tricky here.
Right. Because I can hear
I think
everybody
Trey
now
did it
but
on
Noah.
purpose. Trey just wants to talk to Jason, doesn't want us to ask questions. So
I can't even imagine what the text message thread between Trey and Jason looks like. Hey, bro, don't tell me the goods, but don't tell me all the goods. But then I'll relay it to the other boys. But I really want
right. They can't hear you anyways.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the way it goes, man.
I know how Trey works.
Yeah.
I think I can get all the juice in the world.
Too much. I'll give you a little bit.
It still ain't gonna make a difference. I think at the end
I
of the day,
get out to start bass fishing here the next week or so, pretty hot and heavy. So, but
cool.
Jason, I got a question, and I'm curious. With there's a lot of skinny water. There's a lot of river action on this lake that guys can get into. Do you feel like any of that will play, or do you see, the better bites being on main lake stuff, or what would you recommend to guys?
Yeah, I wouldn't go way up the rivers, in my opinion, but I'd stay around the main lake, the main pockets off the main lake. Your little Indian. Little Indians, big Indians, pigeon, Sandy Creek, just your major creek arms on the lake, I would pretty much stay in those right now.
When you were on the water the other day, what water temps were you seeing again?
50. I had 58 yesterday. I had 52 to 58, and I was up Lick Creek a little bit, and the water was way muddy up there, and it was still 58 degrees. And then excuse me, I got up to a main lake pocket that goes way back in there, had a lot of pole timber in it, and went back to the back, and it was 58 degrees back there. And then I had 52 on out. So on out towards the fronts.
Jason, was the watercolor pretty similar all across the lake, or did it kind of gradually get dirtier, et cetera?
Yeah,
the whole thing.
From the guys I've talked to that's been up, we call upper end, like 107 area, all that water up there is muddy. And then I was up Lick Creek and it was muddy. And then, the mid lake area had a little better color to it, a little more, to me, fishable water this time of year. It was a little clear, a little cleaner, but it was still stained.
Right. And I mean, with their they hadn't started pulling water yet, or they had when you were up there?
I don't think they have when I checked yesterday, but I haven't looked today. I'm guessing they are since it's 6:11.
Yeah, I know they definitely started pulling it today. But I didn't know if when you were there, seeing the different colors and everything.
Yeah,
if they had started yet, because obviously that's going to make it kind of disperse out a little bit and everything. But.
Yeah, and I know up Lick Creek it'll be good. Once they start pulling water and everything gets settled down. If we don't get any more rain this weekend, it's
sounds like Lick Creek's your favorite creek on the lake.
Yeah, Lick Creek's it's nice. I like it. There's a little creek off there called Dry Fork that's hot and heavy. Everybody knows it. It's hot and heavy for crappie in the spring. It warms up first. I was corking them in there a couple weeks ago when we had them warm days. They were up in the water column on some trees, but Lick Creek is there's still some tournaments won out of Lick Creek as far as bass goes. And that is a creek I wouldn't be scared to run up almost as far as you can go. But it can be good.
Jason, really appreciate you coming on here and giving us some information. I know some guys, they'll get to pre-fish, other guys won't. So really appreciate you coming on here and sharing that information. Just want to make sure, go ahead and as far as your content, your stuff, tell us where guys can find that. And I'd link the Mark Twain Intel page on all our comments here. But if they wanted to find your social stuff or anything else, go ahead and share that.
Yeah, I'm at Strike 3 Fishing Guide Service on Facebook, Jason Kieser on Facebook, on Strike 3 Fishing on TikTok. Mark, I just got Mark Twain Lake Fishing Intel on Facebook, and we got the website, obviously, MarkTwainLakeFishingIntel.com. I got Strike 3 Fishing YouTube channel on YouTube. Mostly they're crappie videos. I'll get into some bass videos here at Mark Twain here before too long when it gets going, but it seems like them bass videos do not do as well as them crappie videos. So really? I just, for whatever reason, you get tons more views on the crappie, but I put out bass videos too. I'll go fish a farm pond and put it out there for bass, crappie, whatever. I'll fish farm ponds, big lakes, small lakes, whatever. But there's a lot of crappie content on there, especially in the wintertime and the fall, because the bass kind of go dormant, it seems like, in the wintertime. So you're going to see a lot of crappie content on there, but I mix in some bass videos in there as well. So,
what's the biggest crappie you caught out of there?
I just started weighing them. I normally don't weigh them. I went on inches. I think the biggest one I've caught is like probably 13 and a half inches, and I weighed it the other day, I believe, and it was like just a little over 1.5 pounds. So that's probably my biggest one on the lake. But I got that new Bubba scale, so I'm going to start putting it to use when I can. So, it's all, all these old timers that taught me to crappie fish was all, well, it's a 12 incher, 11 incher. Okay. I don't fish crappie tournaments, but I'm going to start. If I, the goal is to catch a 2-pounder here on the lake, which there's been a few caught out of here, but they're kind of few and far between.
Sure.
What's your favorite crappie jig?
Anyway, I'm glad y'all had me on. I really appreciate it.
Trace, what's your
Trey's
favorite
wanting to know what
crappie
your
jig?
favorite.
Huh?
Your favorite crappie jig?
Favorite.
What's your favorite crappie jig?
The jig head's the thumper jig. The dwarf head we came out with. I kind of work with thumper jigs. It's a little dwarf head with a number 4 hook on it, and we went to that for a little smaller bait profile. We were throwing these little inch baits 3 or 4 years ago in the wintertime, and but that's my favorite. I mean, that's my all around crappie jig all year round. Now it's that little dwarf head, and then I use Wild Willie's plastics. He's out of Wild Willie's OCD out of Cedar Rapids, and I use some brush pile jigs as well. And during the spawn, I'll use them Bobby Garland minnow minders. I'm not too picky, but those minnow minders seem to work really good when I start corking them. Those that love bug color, that blue and chartreuse, but can't go wrong with blue and chartreuse on this lake. So, or black and chartreuse on the crappie, but that's my favorite crappie jigs.
Awesome.
And heads. So,
Can you hear me now, Jason?
and thumpers have got some dwarf head hair jigs too. We've been catching a few of them on hair jigs as well. So, but they're all roaming right now. They're just scattered out. We just drop down on them. I wish the bass was that easy to catch.
Right.
I did catch a 2.5-pound bass about a month and a half ago, crappie fishing, sitting right on top of a brush pile. I thought it was a big crappie, and it was a 2.5-pound bass.
It seems like that size of
JD
bass
wanted to hear
really
that.
likes those crappie jigs.
Yeah, they do. I think you might want to have one of them tied on.
Right.
I think if a lot of guys do that, I mean, I didn't know it was a crappie the way it was said. I just thought it was, or I didn't know it was a bass, but I thought it was a crappie. But there's a lot of bass caught on crappie jigs, especially this time of year on through the spawn. You might get lucky and catch a 4 or 5-pounder. Just hope you have braided line on and nice stout hook. But I didn't get this. I got this fish. I had a 10-foot pole, and I got this fish to the boat. I was ready to take a picture of him, and put it on social media. Hey, caught a bass. It had to be late February. That's unheard of around here. Might have been the first bass caught this season, but that anybody would post. But he was he was healthy. He was just a good 2.5 chunk bass. There is a lot of healthy bass in this lake, and there is a lot of 15, 16 inchers, and they're healthy. The good thing about Mark Twain now, if you got a second, is that you can go out and catch a few more. I mean, it used to be where it's hard to catch. You might go 6 hours without a bite, and you still might. But nowadays, it seems like you could go out for 4 or 5 hours and at least catch a bunch of 14 inchers, 13, 14, inchers. So you can't. I mean, the population, I think it needs some attention, but you could. In the last few years, I think we've had some good spawns, and you can at least go out and get bites more than you used to be able to 10 years ago, in my opinion.
Sweet. I don't know if it might be just me and you. I don't know if Jonathan left again.
Where'd everybody go? They left. They order a pizza or something, or what?
I guess, yeah. Jonathan had to go get a pizza. But yeah, I mean that's some good info for sure, Jason. And we appreciate you coming on. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and holler at me. I'll I got a guide trip Saturday on the lake anyway, so I'll holler at me whoever wins if they want to, any of your group or whatever want to give a little report for the intel. I'd greatly appreciate it, and I'll get you a membership to the intel as well if you do that. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the back-to-back.
There they are.
Pretty sweet. But,
Jason, seriously, really appreciate you coming on here, man. And I know everybody's looking forward to this weekend.
All right.
And
Yep.
if you're on Facebook, you can jump over there on the Moyak Fishing Series Facebook page. If you want to share on intel, that would be awesome. I'm sure guys would appreciate that, especially the guys that wouldn't be able to pre-fish. So,
Sure.
But yeah, seriously, man, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for
Yeah,
having
thank
me,
you,
guys.
Jason.
Good luck this weekend, and go catch 20-pound sack or inch or how many inches and all that stuff. So
100 inches.
Yeah,
yeah,
appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right, buddy. See you guys.
See you.
Can you guys hear me?
And then there were three.
Yeah, we can. I can hear you anyway. Trey.
We can hear you, Trey. We hear you loud and clear, buddy. Talking about your mushrooms and all this.
That's crazy. All right, we got the trivia question. Let's get this out of the way. I want you guys to tell me, the first one to message, when is Lincoln's birthday? And it's a two-part question. When is Lincoln's birthday and how old will he be?
Lincoln is my son, by the way. I don't know if anybody
Hey,
picked up
now.
on.
There it is. There's your trivia question. Sounds like you'll get a nice little gift from Tackle Max and from Noah. Because Trey can't remember who wins the awards on here, the trivia prizes.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Honestly,
guys,
I don't even know if you want to message Trey. You can just message me.
Well, remember, it is a message. It's not commenting on here. It's not commenting on Facebook. It's a direct message, and you guys can, send it to me, and then I'll message it to Noah. So the first one to message me on Facebook Messenger with the correct answer wins a pack of Shark Tails.
Of your colors. So go on their website, pick out a color, and let me know. Or let Trey know.
And guys, remember the tackle donation thing this week. Let's make this big. Let's really bless them kids, man. And let's show up. Let's show up for that.
Yeah, Jonathan, I think to answer your question, I think I'm collecting those, if I remember right, because I work with the Eureka Club right over here by me. So I give it to Josh or me or whoever. We'll figure it out, and I'll bring them down to them. But
Sounds good. Appreciate you guys being on here. Guys, get signed up. Look forward to seeing you guys this weekend. If you're looking for more information, you can go back on YouTube and watch this again, or you can jump on Tourney X. That'll have all the information on there. But again, for real, Noah, Trey, thanks for coming on here. And
we just had a message. It was from Kiefer. We was from Kiefer, and I want to say out here in the public, Kiefer, you're not right. You're wrong.
Go back and watch it, homies.
Go back and watch it. You were close, but you're wrong.
All right, we're gonna shut this thing down. We'll see you guys this weekend.
See you on the
see you,
board.
buddy.